Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live 10 at 10.
As fans fill the Fargo Dome for Bison football season this year, booze could be flowing with the game atmosphere. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. All but one of the 7 Fargo Dome Authority members voted tonight to allow alcohol sales during home Bison football games. The approval gives access to everyone of age, but it still has its limits. Valley News Team's Krista Bain joins us to explain. Krista?
Mike, Bison fans are free to buy a beer and other forms of alcohol, but plan to keep it where you bought it. The Fargo Dome Authority approved the concept of a beer garden. The catch is alcohol will not be allowed in the stands, but they will allow alcohol in suites at the Dome. There are still concerns over how it will all work. The approval came down to fairness for all fans, despite a desire to keep it a more family-friendly atmosphere. Other questions were raised on whether limiting where fans can drink would create congestion and distract from the game.
When I envision a beer garden, wherever that might be, I envision people going there probably at halftime, jam-packed. It's going to be packed. And then, boom, are they going to stay there or are they going to come into the game? And what are we trying to promote here?
It's off concourse and it's controlled, like David said. Off concourse meaning that you wouldn't have to necessarily walk through an area where alcohol is being served to protect the young families and insulate it from the students.
Don't be too anxious for alcohol to be served right away this season. There is still a lot of legwork to be done, and the beer garden may not come right away. The board will look at revising policies and potential locations inside the Dome. Mike?
All right, thanks, Krista. Now, this policy must still be approved by NDSU, the Chancellor of North Dakota University System, and the City of Fargo. Some confusion tonight that sent police scrambling to a South Fargo liquor store. Someone called authorities that there had been a shooting and that 3 men were running from the scene. An employee of Royal Liquors along 32nd Avenue South told Valley News Live that someone told him the call came from there, but there had been no shooting. Adding to the uncertainty was the early word that alleged shooting took place at Royal Liquors on North Broadway. An employee told me nothing happened there either. Police are still investigating. An international arrest is being considered a major victory in an ongoing drug problem in Grand Forks. Tonight, a Colombia native is behind bars for selling fentanyl that was linked to multiple deaths in Grand Forks. 34-year-old Daniel Sharon is in a Panama City jail waiting extradition to the U.S. His arrest is part of Operation Denial, an investigation into the international trafficking of this deadly drug. A task force that began after an 18-year-old Grand Forks man died of an exposure. Police Chief Mark Nelson says he's working to change the culture of young people to put an end to the deaths.
In some aspects, has been a thrill-seeking initiative. The more potent it is, somebody has an overdose, that's great stuff, let's do it again. A quote that came out to me from one of the kids was, "You're not living till you're dying."
6 others in the Grand Forks area are being federally charged as part of Operation Denial for selling fentanyl. One as young as 18 years old. The investigation continues tonight into an Allegiant Airlines pilot who declared a fuel emergency and had to land at Hector Airport during a practice session for the Blue Angels last Thursday. The airport was closed at the time. The pilot of Allegiant 426 can be heard arguing with Fargo Airport's control tower, saying he doesn't have enough fuel to divert the plane.
Your company dispatch should have been aware of this for a number of months.
Okay, yeah, it's just, we'll follow up on that.
Hector Airport says it notified airplanes of the planned airspace closure, practice, and air show as far back as December. The FAA said Allegiant 426 was an hour late departing from Las Vegas and missed its scheduled landing time in Fargo. The FAA also said that the Allegiant flight should have had more fuel on board as required to enable for diversions if necessary. Exporting U.S. oil was talked about today in Grand Forks. U.S. Senator Heidi Heitkamp is working with Republican Alaskan Senator Lisa Murkowski to end an oil ban. They say getting rid of the export ban would be a boost for the oil industry in western North Dakota. Dan Eberhard is the CEO of Canary Oilfield Services. He agrees. His company has a major operation in the Bakken. He says the oil ban is outdated and needs to go. Now, not everyone's on board with eliminating the ban, though. The president of the United Steelworkers says lifting the ban would lead to refinery closures, lost jobs, and higher prices at the pump. A district court judge has ruled that Fargo surgeon John Norberg was not defamed by his ex-wife. Norberg had sued Alana Norberg, claiming that she acted wrongfully and maliciously in having criminal charges brought against him. The verdict came in a civil case in which she countersued her former husband after a medical malpractice suit that she filed against him was dismissed. John Norberg was fired as an orthopedic surgeon when he was charged with drugging and raping his wife. He was rehired by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine after a jury found him not guilty. A joyous reunion for a woman who fell into flooded streets in Moorhead and the people who saved her. Ramona Norvell was walking into a bus stop in the pouring rain a few weeks ago in water up to her knees. A step off the curb caused her to sprain her ankle, a fall she couldn't recover from on her own. Well, two women noticed the deep water and then a woman fall in. With her hands in the air, struggling to keep her head above water, so they ran to help her.
Wasn't what we were expecting to see after work, but when you see something like that, you have to react as quick as you can. The first thing that came to my mind was, oh my gosh, she's an elderly lady. What if she drowns? It was cold out, the rain was pouring down, and what if it was your mom or your grandma or your family member?
Ramona's ankle boot is off now. She's healed from her fall. She says she still would like to meet the man with the black pickup that also helped her out. Moorhead and West Fargo continue to be hot spots for people building homes. The local Home Builders Association finds nearly 260 new homes in process in West Fargo and nearly 130 in Moorhead. This is since the first of the year. In fact, the year is the strongest start for new housing in Moorhead since 2007. As for Fargo, got off to a slow start. It's doing better in the second quarter, but the floodplain continues to be an issue. Despite that, new housing permits are up 20% over the same time a year ago. You may not be getting ready for the start of the school year, but some folks in the valley are. Volunteers today started sorting school supplies and putting together backpacks for the young people who will soon need them. The United Way of Cass and Clay County is collecting school supplies and backpacks to distribute to some 5,200 children. If you'd like to help, you can drop off your contribution at, among other places, Walmart, the Moorhead City Mall, Gate City Bank, and West Acres. Supplies are being collected through Friday. Now, last year, more than 5,000 students from 48 schools got a helping hand with this project and had the supplies necessary to start school. No shortage of support for our four-legged friends in Fargo. Tonight, there were at least 250 entries for this year's Paws Walk. Now, this is a fundraiser for homeless cats and dogs of Homeward Animal Shelter. All of the proceeds of the event tonight will go to help provide food, shelter, and veterinary care to the shelter animals as they wait for their permanent homes. Tonight's event was the 25th annual. We want to take just a few moments now to thank all of the people who helped make our two-day Riding the Rails journey such a huge success. Over the last couple of days, we teamed up with the Red River Valley and Western Railroad and rolled into 8 different southeastern North Dakota towns. We went live during the Valley Today, the North Dakota Today, the Noon Show, 5, 5:30, and 6 o'clock newscasts. Thanks to the people who turned out to greet us. It was a pleasure meeting you. And a special thanks for the organizers and the behind-the-scenes people at Valley News Live. Our broadcasts were all about their hard work. Thanks again to everybody involved. And remember to like Valley News Live on Facebook. You can follow the latest news, weather, and breaking news updates anytime on your feed. Just search Valley News Live, like our page, and you'll stay informed throughout the entire day.
Valley News